By. So today I'd like to talk into a story from India, and it's got a great lesson attached to it. And so myself and my wife at the time, Kendra, we went traveling to India. We spent a long time there. Our intention was to deep dive spiritually. We spent time in ashrams. We met the Dalai Lama up in Dharamsala. We traveled all over the country, and we did a lot of yoga, a lot of meditating, and understanding the culture. Our intention was to deep dive spiritually, and I felt like we did that. And I'm terrible with dates and terrible with time, but I can't remember exactly how long we were there for. But we were there for like a considerable amount of time. And I remember coming towards the completion of the journey, and we're in a taxi and heading back to the hotel. Some of the details of this may not be correct, but in my mind, this is exactly what happened. And we were sort of talking about all the learnings and reflecting on the trip, kind of both looking out different doors, looking at the all the different people and the environment going by as we were reflecting upon the journey and heading towards the airport. And I remember saying to Kendra at the time was, hey, why don't we give whatever we can and let's just give whatever's in our wallets and just give that to somebody as maybe a parting gift of leaving India and saying thanks, or just to do something good for somebody else, knowing that probably what we had left in our might have been the sum of, I don't know, several hundred maybe dollars, or which translated into rupees is a lot of money. Like it could be a year's worth into Indian rupees. So it's life-changing for someone, especially if they're in poverty, to receive this kind of money. And I can remember sitting there, sort of gathering it up together, and we had this wad, quite a wad of cash and rupees, because 5 Australian dollars makes that much Indian rupees. So it was a lot of it, felt like a lot of it. And we're sort of looking out the window, trying to find the person that was going to be the recipient of this money and this gift. And we're both searching, and I know in my mind I was searching for someone who was the worst off, that was in terrible poverty. So, and in India you get confronted with everything, the level of poverty is huge. So I remember seeing beggars with no, amputations and no legs. And anyway, we came upon a fellow that was basically completely naked and dirty, and obviously a very bad way. And I remember the anticipation of giving, and this sort of like, it's kind of, it was feeling good. It was feeling, it's just this sort of, I can't really put my finger on it, but it was this positive feeling, but one of adrenaline as well, as this about to change someone's life with this money. And then, this, we sort of got this guy to come over, and he sort of like hobbled over to the taxi. And I remember him sort of putting out his hands, but not even looking at me in the eye. And he sort of just grabbed the money and just left. And I remember sitting there, and I looked at Kendra, and she looked at me, and I was like, what just happened? What just happened here? And I remember being shitty at myself. And the reason why is because, we went to India on this spiritual journey, believing that we're going to really, get something out of this, and we had, and there were so many twists and turns and so many learnings, and yet the final thing that we did was an act of massive ego. And one could say that the entire journey was about stripping away ego, and then yet at the final, after learning all this stuff, the final act was wanting to be acknowledged. And I guess I expected this man to like just go into some sort of throes of excitement or gratitude, or thank me or hug me, or to see that his life was potentially changed significantly from my gift. And there was nothing. And that nothingness just sort of threw me, and I was like, oh wow. I was like, it wasn't about him at all. This whole thing wasn't about changing that man's life. What it was about me getting thanks for doing something good. And it was a hard lesson to take at the end of months in India, after going on this spiritual journey and looking to learn lots of stuff, only for me to do that very, very, I guess it just wasn't in alignment with why I went there for it. It was probably the biggest lesson I got. So there you go. It was one of the biggest lessons I got, was the recognition of that event and seeing that for what it was. And and that was a big thing. So that's my India story. I guess the thing to take out of it is you give to give, not to receive attention or acknowledgement. It's all about just the giving, and there doesn't need to be anything back. It's just the gift of giving, and that's it. Doesn't need to be about your ego, to be seen, to be recognized, to be acknowledged. It's not about any of that. And just to give because you can. And that's the thing. Okay, there's my story. It's probably inaccurate. Kendra would probably tell you it was probably completely inaccurate, but that's what it is in my head, in my heart. That's the lesson I take out, and that's probably the most important thing. So, thank you, and have a great day.